Hello and welcome to Beijing, the People's Republic of China, and the second day of racing in the World Tour event, which brings the 2014 season to a close, the fourth edition of the Tour of Beijing. And the weather, a little bit of rain at the start today in Chonli, where the riders also started yesterday, but it won't dampen the spirits of the Chinese. But it has caused a change in the race itinerary, reduced from 147.5 kilometers by 36.5 kilometers. So today's stage 2 from Chonli to Yanqing will be 111 kilometers. Here's the route as it should have stood, but I'll show you now. The riders themselves will finish the stage some 36 kilometers short of the town. As we go over the hills here, we're approximately 90 kilometers to the northwest of Beijing, and it's the final third category climb at the bottom of the picture where the race will now finish. And the reason for this is the riders are protesting at the start and gaining the support of the officials and organisation that the smog was a little bit too unsafe for their health. So they're stopping some 36 kilometers short of the original finish. The Sky team signing in there, who lost the stage yesterday. So did this man here, Benyar in Saosti, along with TJ Van Garderen, both riders losing 18 minutes yesterday, and with it any chance of winning this tour when it ends on Tuesday. Little bit of drizzle at the start, so the riders told only minutes ago that the stage has now been reduced. A unanimous decision by the organisation and the riders. Philippe Gilbert was one of the main protagonists suggesting this should happen, and the riders now are facing a hilltop finish, which has completely changed the day of racing, because this day was meant to be for the sprinters with a kilometre straight finish in Yanqing. Now it is going to finish on Yanjiaping Village Summit, which is the last third category climb of the day. 131 riders signing in, including Rigoberto Urán, one of the favourites now, and it has to be said that this new course is going to favour people like Philippe Gilbert, Dan Martin, perhaps Urán as well, riders who will favour on a short climb up to the finish, which just before the finishing line kicks in at around about 8 or 9%. The green jersey there is being worn by Tyler Farrar today, and Dan Martin, well, the change will certainly suit him as well. Second last year, losing the race by just 10 seconds, and the clear favourite now to try and get the victory he's been missing. Modelo signing in, good sprinter, finishing fourth yesterday. This man was second in his first stage of a World Tour event, and that is Caleb Ewan of the Orica Green Edge team, the youngest man in the race. Everybody in pretty good spirits. Sam Bewley doesn't quite know where to put his signature because his teammates have put them in the wrong places. That'll do, he says, and off he goes. Daryl Impey, one of two South Africans in the race. Warren Barguil also signing in his case, in the right place. So Giant Shimano with the winner on the left of yesterday's stage, Luka Mečik, in the red leader's jersey. So the race underway, and the stage reduced from 147 to 111 kilometers. The weather has cooled down somewhat as well. Hard to imagine that this same start line just 24 hours ago was bathed in warm sunshine. Today the riders wrapped up for a journey into the lesser hills, as it were, from yesterday. There were quite tough climbs yesterday. And outside the town of Chonli, the riders get underway. The road's still damp, but the weather clearing. And the smog, which has hung around the hillsides all evening and all early morning, appears now to be blowing away. But too late, the decision is taken, and the race will only be run over 111 kilometers. And immediately a breakaway of four riders getting themselves together: Alexis Gruger, Laurent Mangel, Julien Alaphilippe and Fabio Silvestre. Now, three of these riders lost 18 minutes yesterday, along with in Saosti, last year's winner, and TJ Van Garderen, the American. But one of these riders, Alaphilippe, is only 10 seconds back, and he's gone into the breakaway, so it's unlikely the field will want to let him go too far. Remains very much a danger. Three riders 18 minutes behind. They're not going to make that up in one day of racing over 111 kilometers. Feel more interested in keeping warm here. The long sleeves are on, warm under jerseys, racing capes covering up all of the numbers at the moment. They're going into the lower foothills of the mountains here, which abound to the northwest of Beijing. But the next 2 days to come will see some serious climbs. And this is a sort of bonus for the potential overall winners of this race, because today is no longer for the sprinters, it is for the strong climbers coming up to the finishing line at kilometre 111. 4 riders building a lead now, which is taking them up to just over 2 minutes. The cameras unfortunately can't go in tunnel, so we'll go and have a look at the peloton. This time not the black jerseys of Team Sky as it was yesterday, but the black jerseys of Orica Green Edge here, the Australian team. That's not the normal colours, of course. It's because they've pulled on their racing capes. And the striped jerseys there of the race leader, Luka Mecek. Dan Martin will have to contemplate now, coming up well towards the finish today. There's seconds to be gained and indeed seconds to be lost on the finishing climb. Not looking too happy with the weather at the moment. As he chats there with Ben Swift of Team Sky, the man who was supposed to win for the team yesterday but crossed the line in 12th place as they lost their grip on the race in the last 2 or 3 kilometres. Dan Martin has great form, having just won the Giro di Lombardia, the Tour of Lombardy in Italy, the last major classic of the season, and only just before he travelled here to Beijing. And having finished second in this race a year ago, he still remains the hot favourite. Lost no time yesterday. Russian team Katusha here looking for service. And should be getting it as he comes through. Well, the field here more preoccupied by the action at the back at the moment rather than at the front. And now there's only 3 riders here, and I think that's been a wise decision by Alaphilippe, the Frenchman in this front group, because he's gone back, and I think voluntarily gone back to the race, because they were chasing him with a lead of only 10 seconds overnight. The riders who are just ahead of him overall wanted him back in the pack. These boys, 18 minutes behind yesterday, are no longer a threat to the overall lead, and because of that they may well be allowed a reasonable advantage on this ride for the moment. And the scurrying, toing and throwing here at the back of the peloton as we look at the bearded figure, the only professional cyclist out of Namibia, Dan Craven, rides for the French Europe car team but doesn't speak any French, although he's learning pretty quickly now. But I think his teammate explaining there, take my jacket back to the team car, which he's going to do. A gate character, Dan Craven. Rode his first Grand Tour, the Tour of Spain, about 3 weeks ago, and rode it very well indeed. So as we're looking here at Dan Craven sort out the problem, the rider's warming up a little bit now because there has been a distinct change in the weather, and I suppose some will now question the decision to alter the race distance, because also the mist has blown away from the original finishing town of Yanqing. Nonetheless, the decision is now taken. The riders will race only to the top of the last climb on the course, therefore not riding the final 36 kilometres to the finish. So the timekeepers have packed their bags. They've left the finish town of Yanqing and gone up the mountain and reset the time. Edward Bosenhagen passing through camera there. The leader in the King of the Mountains, Tosh van der Stande, had a good day yesterday. He won every climb, hence he wears the polka dot jersey as leader of the mountains competition. If this breakaway stays in place, it's not going to endanger his lead overall. There's only 10 points at stake on the course today, 2 small climbs, including the climb up to the finish. This is the man who's been demoted now from race leader of his team, Movistar. Lost 18 minutes yesterday, last year's winner, Benya Intausti, to domestic and helper, because he's now looking to take everybody's racing capes back to the car. Doesn't look too unhappy at the change in team structure for him. The team is still quite well up overall as a team, but no more any pressure on him to repeat his victory of 1 year ago. He's found his team car, and everybody now finding the occasion getting a little bit warm. Well, the fact that Intausi is not in any hurry at all here to get back to the peloton, a good sign. They've made a steady start. Nobody too worried. Philippe Gilbert on the far side of the picture there. He knows this course suits him now. Down to the ground, having taken out the last 36 kilometers downhill. He is actually can be quite a good sprinter on the flat, but not against the best sprinters in the world, that's for sure. He sits overall just 9 seconds off the race lead. And we're not seeing too much at all of the race leader's red jersey here. These red jerseys are owned by the Lotto Belisol team. They're not the leaders of the race, of course. There's only one leader's red jersey, and that's on the shoulders of Luka Mecic. And nobody now, and I think quite rightly for the moment at least, seem too concerned about this breakaway now. Once they caught up with Julien Alaphilippe, the rider from Amiga Pharma Quickstep, 10 seconds down overnight. 3 riders left to gain a little bit of ground because they were 18 minutes and 14 seconds down, finished all together yesterday. And so Alexis Gougier, Laurent Mangel and Fabio Silvestre, who comes from Portugal, and he's a young rider too. He's only 24 years of age, riding his first season on the World Tour team. But back in 2011, he was the under-23 national road race champion of Portugal. Gilbert continues just to concentrate on the backside of the peloton there. Coming through on his inside, Edvard Bosenhagen, another man that the finish will suit today. Bosenhagen is a very strong man, uphill from Norway. Won a stage of the Tour de France a few years ago. Very similar finish to the way this one now is. But the first problem is to catch these riders. Gougier, Mangel, Silvestre. So far, all riding pretty solidly together here. Little flick of the left elbow there, which is from Gougier. And that's bring everybody through. You can join us at our conversation on Twitter, the hashtag TOB2014. Countryside looking a little bit stark now as autumn is preparing to give way to winter here. We're racing at the moment some 1,200 meters above sea level. We drop down towards the end, but not as far as we would have done if the course had been the same. But we now finish on top of the last climb of the day, Yan Jia Ping. The autumn leaves giving way from the autumn tints right now. This is a region which we'll see shortly up to 1 meter in snow, and that will last for the best part of 3.5 months. Alexis Gougier, AG2R. The rider in blue just peeping into our picture, Laurent Mangel. It was his teammate Jeremy Roy yesterday who almost survived to the end, the last survivor of a breakaway, and he was caught 20 kilometers to go, gave way to the sprinters. Today though it finishes uphill. The last 5 kilometers is pretty much steady incline. It's the last kilometer which really hurts the legs. So they continue to work together and not too concerned now. That's the gap. It has come down, so they're not allowing it too many legs. 65 seconds, the last gap. Orica Green Edge are interested. They do have Sebastian Chavez as a very good climber and strong man, the Colombian on the team. He's had a good season, won a stage of the Amgen Tour of California this year. Jens Maurice going through, Team Sky, and the blue jerseys of Garmin Sharp, and they'll be seeing this now as a possible good result for their man Dan Martin. There he is on the inside there of that group. Steele von Hoff riding just behind him in the blue as well. Looking at the faces here, the riders just keeping warm with fast pedaling style, nobody under too much pressure. Philippe Gilbert in the centre there. Samuel Sanchez just behind him. And clearly not too concerned about this breakaway at the moment. Well, there is Van der Sant here now, coming back through the cars, the leader in the King of the Mountains. Well, he's missed out on the first King of the Mountains today because the breakaway's gone over that before we came on air, and Sylvester won the first sprint of 50 kilometres to go, and at this first King of the Mountains, which was 70 kilometres from the finish, it was Gugère who got the 5 points from Sylvester and Mongel, and Van der Sande in our picture, he got best of the rest and got 1 point for 4th place, and that's confirmed his overnight lead will continue in the King of the Mountains. But tomorrow will be a tough day for him. There are 7 climbs tomorrow. He really does need to be up at the front early on. First chance to glimpse the first race leader of the 4th Tour of Beijing, Luka Mechik. It's a red jersey in this race, as he just keeps his teammates all around him. I don't think he has any intention of trying to defend this. He knows on the 2 days ahead the mountains will be his downfall. He's not a great climber, and although he might have been well taking out the sprint today had it been the expected finish, now he knows that the hilltop finish has gone against him as well. So I think there'll be a new leader tonight. Number 1 there, in Sousti, Benoit in Sousti, lost his lead yesterday with that 18-minute deficit. Apparently, when Team Sky applied the pressure midway through the race, a lot of riders caught at the back at the wrong time. The gap opened and they literally could not close the gap, and very quickly they waved goodbye to the main pack of some 60 riders, which grew to 90. And the 2 big names caught out were TJ Van Garderen, the American, who finished 5th in the Tour de France, and also was part of the BMC Team Time Trial gold medal winning team 2 weeks ago in Ponferrada in Spain at the World Championships, both losing 18 minutes and 14 seconds. Well, this is a stunningly beautiful area just outside of Beijing, about an hour and a half to 2 hours drive depending on the traffic, but in this sort of condition here looks a little bit drab as winter is on the way. But either way, there's no doubt that the smog, the infamous smog of Beijing, which was very thick at the start of the day, has blown away, and the forecast is it'll all be gone by the end of this day, and hopefully that'll be the end of it for the next 3 days of racing. But temperatures are talking of going down, and maybe some rain as well. Ji Cheng on the front now, the workhorse, the breakaway killer, as we nicknamed him in the Tour de France, in the first Tour de France by any Chinese cyclist last July. And he saw the finish as well on the Champs-Élysées. It was a great moment for China and Chinese cycling, and he was always the workhorse and chasing down the breakaways. He's at it again now because this gap is closing down. Sylvestre just seeing what he can see in the distance as he takes his turn at the rear of the field. Will follow through with Gugère. Down to 45 seconds now. Still too far to go towards the finish. It's not going to make it, that's for sure. The elastic stretched only when the peloton picked up Julien Alaphilippe, who fell back almost voluntarily back into the pack. 131 riders starting today, 4 riders abandoning the race yesterday. An unusual number for the first day of racing. As the peloton themselves, Garmin now. Garmin knows this has suddenly become a day of great importance in their bid to win this race, and that's their ambition. They've been in a winning position on a couple of big races this year when bad luck has struck. And they're very conscious of that. They're having a very good season as it is, and Garmin merging with Cannondale, 2 of the World Tour teams, into one squad next year. Some of the riders losing their actual status on the teams and having to look for new contracts, which is rather sad. Ji Cheng enjoying a lot of camera time at the front of the peloton here in his own country in a World Tour event, which must feel very, very nice for him. He's also, over the 3 editions of the Tour of Beijing, been the highest placed finisher amongst the Chinese cyclists in the event. Still in pretty exposed countryside here, and the wind proving unfavourable as well. But it's the wind which has taken care of the restrictive smog, that's for sure, and blown it away. The riders very concerned at the start this morning. And the organisers concurring with them. But I have to say now the weather at the finish is equally as good as the weather at where the riders are now. So maybe it was a hasty decision to reduce the race distance today. But the peloton are certain now that they're going to wind this up, because they know the last 5 kilometres are tough, gentle incline leading into a big kick up to the finishing line. These 3 boys are still clear, but for how long now? Gougier, Mongel, Silvestre, 2 Frenchmen and a rider from Portugal in the black colours there. Picking up the tempo all of the time here now, and this is to, on these narrow roads, keep the riders who want to be at the front. The big teams making sure that they are getting themselves in position. Orica Greenedge, Jens Muris just signalling to the riders there, let's keep it just blocked across the front. And the wind is taking its effect now. It really does look, that's Gougier swinging off the front now, and the fashion conscious man here, Silvestre, with his white leg and white arm on opposite sides of his racing kit, does a good turn on the front. Most experienced rider here is Laurent Mongel, though he hasn't won a race since 2010, but he is a great workhorse, just like his teammate Jeremy Roy yesterday. Sam Bewley now taken up the front for Orica Greenedge. Tinkoff Saxo moving through on the left of our picture. No room to get through at the back. The road completely blocked off here. That's one way of stopping attacks. Well, just looking through the trees to our left there, you can see the headlights of the car. So this is approaching, I think, around just over 30-35 seconds now. This gap, it can't go on for much longer. Like yesterday, they got away not long after the start of the stage. It's very often the time to make the move before the riders start to concentrate. Sitting in the back here is Lachlan Morton on the left now, 67. He spends a lot of time at the back of this race. He was the rider who signed on in almost a full facial mask at the start this morning. He was feeling a little bit chilly, I think. Another kilometre ticks by, and these 3 are still together. But those lead motorbikes now are only sitting just ahead of the main field, which is virtually all of the riders left in this race. We're coming up to the finish here of only the second sprint of the day, but it should have been at 48 kilometres from the finish, and it's now only 11.5 kilometres to go to the actual end of the day. 300 metres, and I don't expect a sprint here. Silvestre won the first one 50 kilometres into the stage. The peloton heading into the village as well at Shiji. And it looks like Silvestre is kicking just enough to take another small time bonus of 3 seconds, but he's also looking for the points in the green jersey competition, for which he gets 5 points for that. And he wins them both. Mongel second, and Gouget over in third. And the peloton are arriving rather quickly at almost the same spot here, so they're coming through very, very quickly now. It's Garmin Sharp who are revving it up at the front along with Lotto. 300 meters to the sprint. They're not interested. There is a point in the competition for the fourth rider across, but they're not going to worry about that. They're more interested now in the location of those three riders and try and bring them through. Now pretty much now the roads undulate all the way to the base of the finishing climb, and that is only 11.5 kilometers away. And so the small third category climb, which by all intents and purposes would have been insignificant on the race to Changqing itself, we've now got a situation where it's absolutely crucial. And they're not worried about the 5 points for the King of the Mountains either. They're more worried about the time bonus being first across what is now the finish line of the day. Now playing tag at the back of the race here with Lachlan Norris. Also there is Brian Nolo, Frenchman on Europe car, far right in the green at the moment. Well, it's being held at 45 seconds. They closed in, but they've lost a little bit of ground with the impetus of that sprint point. Now just watching the distance here, and you'll see a bottle go flying out, and I don't know what on earth happens, but it bounces straight back. So it seems to have hit some sort of a spring. But anyway, it's back on the road, and that's extremely dangerous for the race. If a rider had hit that at an angle, there would have been a bad crash. Safely by the whole field, nobody behind. As they come out of this beautiful valley here, you can tell by the lack of tree growth that the snow comes here and stays here for up to 4 months a year. Has a nice spring with wildflowers before we head into the quite a temperate summer. Temperatures on highs of only 20 degrees. It's perfect conditions. Good mountain weather. Thomas Dekker comes back. I think he's been down to the team car as well, still feeling the chill by the look of the clothing he's wearing. You see by the angle of the road, it's gradually going uphill this, and at these sort of speeds it starts to tell on the legs. 10 kilometers to go. The last 5 are virtually all uphill, and these are undulations. Well, I can tell you there's a big patient crowd down in the finish line of the city of Yanqing, but they're having to watch it on a big giant television screen in the street. The roads are completely closed, and the race won't be going there until after they cross the finishing line up in the mountains, and then they will be transported to almost to the finish, and then they'll ride the bikes over the line, and then the presentation of the day will be made down at the finishing line in the city. Then they stay the night in that city, and in fact for the next 2 days they make a start each time from Yanqing and go up into the mountains, 2 different circuits, and the second day in the mountains will be the decider as we climb up a mountain, same one as we used last year when Dan Martin and Benya Inchausti went head to head, and it was Inchausti getting the advantage by 10 seconds, his eventual winning margin. Well, you can see the peloton now in that distance amongst those cars with the headlights on. These boys are not easing up either. They're still going pretty quickly here. It's been a very strong breakaway. Gouget, a winner this year as well, had 2 victories. Started off in March with a victory in his home country of France in Loire-Atlantique, and also had a victory in the Boucle de l'Aune, Châtelain. Portuguese rider willing to work with the two Frenchmen for as long as he can here. This is Silvestre. He's taken out both the sprints for the green jersey along the way, but take a look over the shoulder now. They are just swung into sight now, the whole pack here. Now we have not seen the red jersey all day, and that's a sign to me that the change of route has completely deflated yesterday's winner, Luka Menchik, and almost certainly won't keep his lead tonight, not with the climb to come. Team Katusha also have a very good finisher on their squad in Sergei Chinetsky, 24-year-old. But the immediate problem is to try and catch these. It looks to me there as though Silvestre has decided that little acceleration by Goujar is enough. So close to the finish. Now we're down to 2. This is beginning to look like a déjà vu from stage 1. Silvestre just checking. He'll have seen them coming now. There's no point in wasting any more energy, as they'll come around into our view, I would think, very shortly. Mongel going to keep at it, so Alexis Goujar. Alexis Goujar, one of the youngest riders in the race, 21 years of age. Got a pretty good future ahead of him, first year professional. The pack are about to snap up. First of all, the rider in black down there, Silvestre. There'll be a lot of calculations being done in the peloton as well now, knowing that the finish is not very far ahead, about 6 or 7 kilometers in front. And the big teams are now thinking more of long term. There's the catch of Silvestre, and the gap is probably 25 seconds, if that, to the 2 men left up front. Signal from Sambuli there saying, I've had enough, to his teammate Jens Muritz to fill the space, because Sam is going through the back of the race. Pacemaking done for the day. This is a very, very high tempo now, and it is a steady incline, this, and they're still managing to hold probably 40-45 kilometers now. And Team Lotto Belisol are playing a few cards as well. Now don't forget, there is 5 points for the King of the Mountains for the man that wins the stage as well, and if that happens, of course, maybe Tosh van der Sande is going to try for that too. Tyler Farrer fancies his chances there in the green jersey. Now he's a pure sprinter and will not get up this hill, I can't believe, to take the sprint out today. His moment would have been down at the finishing line. And now the men have been doing all of the work, saying goodbye here to the back of the peloton to ride in. Pretty usual at this stage of the race. Bernie Eisel at the back now, the rider's representative that was making the initial request to the organisation to consider the weather conditions this morning, which led to the reduction of the race by 36 kilometres. And there it is. Well, it's happened again, just like it did yesterday, but a bit closer to the finish this time. A rider on Française des Jeux putting in the last effort from a leading group. And this time it is Laurent Mongel, who's gone away of Goujar. He'll be back in the pack in no time at all. Can this man hang on for what is now only a few kilometres? Unfortunately, there'll be uphill kilometres. The peloton now really revving up the occasion, not even giving Goujar the courtesy of a glance. And that gap is unmanageable for the Frenchman, but he's going to give it a go anyway. As is the last survivor of the breakaway, I'm not surprised that the race referees have announced that he will be voted the most aggressive rider of the day. So that'll be some compensation and a small prize, but he'd much prefer to get the win. Now the peloton now are just letting him fry here, because they don't really want to pick him up just yet, because once they do, there will be attacks from the pack. The road now is a steady incline. And okay, 111 kilometers at this level of cycling is not a long way for these professionals. As it was, 147 wasn't a long way, but now it means the riders are going to have a lot of frisky legs coming up towards the finish. Most important thing, of course, is the small time bonuses here. 10 seconds for the win, 6 and 4. 5 kilometers to go, steady drag. It's not the official climb to the finish yet, but it does go uphill. Mongel in the same hot seat that his teammate Jeremy Roy was yesterday. Katusha on the front, taking control of the pack as well. Looking for perhaps Chinetsky on this short climb up to the finish. And these riders won't know this climb. They won't have seen it. Originally, of course, it was never going to be part of such an important part to play in this event. It would have been simply a matter of riding over it and continuing on to the finishing line. Now it is the actual finish. The slopes are steep enough to make time gaps, and steep enough for the real strong sprinter climbers to get away on the climb itself. And for that very same reason, of course, this man Mongel isn't going to be able to keep away from the field. Lamprey still got chances in those mauve sleeves to their jerseys. They've also got the world champion of a year ago, Rui Costa, who's a very strong man. He finished 4th overall in this race last year, which proves he's not afraid of these climbs. 4 kilometers, just come inside the sign there. As now the workhorses from Katusha start to fall away. That was Rüdiger Selig, the German rider on the team. Done his pacemaking at the front. Still, this man is being allowed to dangle on the end of the fishing line. They're almost trying not to catch him now. And already the red jersey of yesterday, the stage winner, Meček, showing no signs of defending that jersey here. Well, they can't keep him at bay anymore. They've rolled up to him. And the last to be caught after the long breakaway of the trio, Laurent Mongel. Wiped away, but he won't be losing 18 minutes like he did yesterday. The finish is now just 3 kilometers to go. Manny White on the left is just dipping behind Nicholas Mace. Here at the front is former Commonwealth Games champion Matthew Heyman. Ricardo Zeudel is the white jersey who's just gone out of our sight. 3 from the front of Austria. Looking very, very frisky at this stage of the race. You can tell by the urgency in the pedalling that everybody's trying to position themselves now and get the men they think can claim the glory. I haven't seen Dan Martin come up towards the front yet, and he really must be thinking about it. There's time to be gained here. The speed of the peloton now. Riders at the back have got no chance whatsoever. Nicholas Mace, who's just dropping off the back there, had a good result yesterday. He was 5th in the sprint. Today he was the workhorse. Now he's fallen away. A lot of concentration on those faces now. Philippe Gilbert on the left of our picture in the white sunglasses, also putting himself into a good position. He knows this is a perfect sprint for him. He's done it before many times over. Not least, he's won the Amstel Gold Race, which is Holland's biggest event. He's a Belgian, by the way, 3 times. And in the old days, it used to finish right on top of a nasty little climb called the Kouberg. Now it finishes just over the top. And so he's shown us his skills a few times at this sort of finish. A little bit of an irony that the amendment to the course has swung it to his liking. And such a narrow road to hold position. If you can get strong riders to block off at the front here, progress is not going to be easy through this peloton. It's another tactic, far left of our picture there. I could see Reinhard Janssen van Rensburg starting to move up, the other South African in the race, along with Daryl Impey. Sky still seem to be interested here. This looks like an attack here. Manuela Burro, the Italian, on Tinkoff Saxo, as he's made the move. And looking in the backdrop there, Sky are trying to position Edvard Bosenhagen. He's the second rider in black. But frankly, they had more men up here, and they've lost them now as they start the steady drag up towards the finish. This is a good move here, because we're just over a kilometre from the finishing line. He's taken his chance well. So Burro already had a nice little win in the Tour of Denmark, a race he led for 3 days. He won stage 3 of that race in August, so he's got good form. And that's his only win since he turned professional just a couple of years ago in 2011. Maybe another one coming up now. The start of the climb, which means just around this corner we're going to see 1 kilometre to go to the summit of the climb. Officially it's not very long. There it is, and Burro has a good advantage. This is forcing Sky to react here. Zoidel is the third rider in the group behind in the white jersey, as we're also seeing now the riders from Lampre, because Rui Costa is also there. Moves on the outside as well by Orica Greenedge. They've caught him about 600 metres, 700 metres to go. But unfortunately, Sky may have misjudged this yet again, because they are leaving at the back group here. Only one rider able to help Edvard Bosenhagen. Philippe Gilbert, about 5 or 6 riders back. No sign of Dan Martin. I did notice him earlier on. I think it's the blue jersey just peeping in our picture, with the bluish crash helmet, about 3 men off the front. Yes, it is, and he's on the shoulder of the man in red, and that's Gilbert. 500 metres to go, but we continue to climb. This is not an easy climb for the finish of a race. They would have just rolled over it had we been racing to the original finish, but now it's he who gets to the top first wins the day. I think it's Ian Boswell at the front there who's trying desperately to continue the work rate for Bosenhagen, but he can't do it anymore now. He's gone, and now Edvard Bosenhagen will have to freelance whoever comes his way. It's not going to be easy. The Belkin rider, Peter Siri, has come up here in that lime green jersey. Chavez is starting to move for Orica Greenedge. And Philippe Gilbert has got himself in a perfect position. And the man who's making a move on the left here, that is Reinhard Janssen van Rensburg, on the same team as the race leader, who is going to lose his red jersey, Mechik, here at 100 metres to go. It is Janssen van Rensburg being challenged by Philippe Gilbert. Gilbert went a long way around, but still had the legs to snatch it on the line. And a 10-second win bonus comes his way. He started the day 9 seconds off red. He could be in yellow tonight by a single second or more, because I haven't seen the red jersey come over the line yet. And there's quite a possibility the referees will split time the arrival of that pack, because there was a definite split about 20 men down. Let's have another look here. Chavez looking as though he was about to make his move, and suddenly felt the wind coming from the South African rider Janssen van Rensburg. And Philippe Gilbert shoulder to shoulder with him, his favourite sort of finish, hits the line, gets the win. Another view of it for you. Well, that's a pity in effect for Reini Janssen van Rensburg on the left, because that would have been his best ever victory. But it's not to be. The former world champion Philippe Gilbert hits the line and gets with it, his 6th victory of the year. There he is in the car, waving to the camera, and now they will have a journey down to the original finish. And once down there, they'll come into the finishing line on their bicycles, because there is a big crowd, one of the biggest crowds we've had actually, and they haven't seen a bike race down there. Gilbert himself perfectly happy, but he certainly wasn't at the start of the day, when he was putting in with other riders a suggestion that the race was shortened or cancelled altogether, I believe. Riders now back in the saddle here, chance to take a few selfies. You can never keep that man Dan Craven out of the pictures from Namibia. A real character. Maybe this is just to emphasize the questionable air that the riders were fighting against today, the famous smog of the Beijing region. The irony is it's all blown away. Photograph there of Philippe Gilbert and his sixth victory rather of the season, and a red jersey awaits very shortly. This would have been the 1 kilometre perfectly straight finish, a sprinter's delight, because I'm sure after the top of that climb there would have been a regrouping by quite a lot of riders here on the run down to the finish, and it might well have been a different result and a different leader tonight. All of the peloton seem to be pretty happy with the situation. They must be a little surprised by the fact that the weather is quite pleasant here at the finishing line right now. And the crowd sitting there, having seen them all on television, now see them come through. And a little repeat performance here. The riders giving best to the man that won on the mountains, Philippe Gilbert. A mock sprint, and oh dear, I just finished second, as Philippe Gilbert gets the victory again. So he's had yet another great season, Gilbert. He's won 73 races he's won now in his career. He now starts to circle around the back of the barriers in search of the protocol area. Another little look at a happy smiling face. The shorter course fell into his lap today. It left him with a perfect finish, and one in which he specialises, and one has to say very rarely beaten in. An uphill finish like that. So Team BMC continue what is for them an excellent season of racing this year. 12th in the World Road Race Championships for Philippe Gilbert, former world champion. There's the result confirmed. The first 10 riders rather given the same time. Janssen van Rensburg second. The former world champion Rui Costa is in third place. Dan Martin, Peter Seri, Jesus Herrada, he'll be the new white jersey, and we can now hear what Phil Gilbert has to say.
Philippe, an interesting day to say the least.
Yeah, it was a very strange day because this morning it was raining, then it was a lot of pollution in the air, and we spoke together with the organization, the UCI, and everyone agreed that we should cancel the last 30k, and I think it was like a good decision, and of course the final was good for me because an uphill finish it's a bit better than flat, but I think it's a circumstance. I didn't choose it. I was just lucky to have a finish like this and to finish a job. So I'm pretty happy today.
It's a little bit ironic because we arrive in Yanqing and the conditions look a lot better than we thought that they were earlier this morning.
Yeah, but this you never know. I mean, it's always good to take a decision like this before, organize everything. And for me, it's the first time I see that we take a decision together with like the different part of cycling, and this means a lot because a lot of times in the past the riders were not, they didn't listen to us, and today we did a big step in our sport, I think.
And the ceremonial finish in the end, so you won not only the stage but the ceremonial finish as well, which was good.
Yes, and yeah, I mean, I'm happy to have win today and to have the leader jersey also, but I mean, we take it day by day because we don't know also with the situation of the air, and so we will see what's happened in the next days.
On this stage last year, Buhani won, which was a bit of a surprise, so it's a stage that will suit you, so the chances of staying in the lead after tomorrow look quite good as well.
Yes, I mean, we have a good team, some good guys there, and we're going to try to control this and then we see. But again, we take it day by day.
Well, congratulations on the win today.
A very cautious Philippe Gilbert there, taking it day by day, but he's certainly got the red leader's jersey now as he takes the stage winner's prize first of all. He'll also be the leader of this race on points, taking maximum points with his victory on the climb as well. So it was in the end a good day for the Belgian cyclist Philippe Gilbert of Team BMC, which is an American team. This is now the overall situation after 2 days. Gilbert now leads Janssen van Rensburg by 5 seconds. The former world champion Rui Costa by 7. Jesus Herrada, who becomes the best young rider now, in 4th place at 11 seconds. Peter Seri, Michael Scherel, and the Polish rider Sergei Chetnitsky. We saw his teammates working for him. He finished 7th on the day and 7th overall now. And so the overnight leader now out of the running, I think. So for Philippe Gilbert, he's in red tomorrow. There are 7 mountains tomorrow as well on the course, and he starts from exactly where he had his mock finish here. We'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.